Welcome back to BBN After Dark. We had another fantastic weekend of Bears baseball. A lot of different teams in action here. And it was a good weekend. I think we saw a lot of good competition this weekend. I think, every single team had a win, I believe, this weekend, or at least 5 out of 6 had a win. So I thought a very nice weekend all around. But I just want to go through today and go team by team and kind of look at who performed well this weekend. Obviously, I think 3 weeks into the season, you're starting to see the early season breakouts, right? Everybody can have maybe 1 or 2 good weeks, but I think if you've played at a high level for 3 straight weeks, it's more of a true breakout than anything else. So I want to go ahead and go team by team and first look at who played well this weekend and then who's doing well on the season. So let's go ahead and start right at the bottom with 11U Floyd, our youngest team in action right now. This team, again, I think with the bats had a really, really solid weekend. And the 2 guys I want to ask you about, Bernie, are 2 guys that I think we knew coming into the season were the big hitters on this team. I think especially on the boom or bust type. I think we knew these 2 hitters maybe had the highest upside on this team, and that's Lucas Closer and Matthew Hume. Lucas had a really good weekend, probably his best weekend of the season so far. 3 extra base hits in 9 at-bats, and this guy was hitting the ball hard, Bernie. I know you got a chance to watch some 11U baseball this weekend. Tell me about Lucas Closer and the weekend he had, and what do you see as far as him turning this into a breakout season?
Yeah, I've been on Lucas since the start of the season. I think that at his best, he's definitely the best hitter on the squad. I said he was going to be the best hitter this year. And honestly, Matthew Hume, the other guy you mentioned, I think so far has been considered the best hitter, and I did not fully expect that out of him. But I think if Lucas keeps up what he's doing this weekend, over the course of the full season, which I do think he does, he will be the best hitter on this team by the end of the year.
Do want to talk about some more hitters, Bernie, but let's go ahead and look at the pitching staff for this team. Owen Haynes and Whedon Hainline combined for 9 strikeouts to just 1 walk in 7 innings this weekend. I think this pitching staff last year had a lot of trouble throwing strikes, and I think so far this season we've seen a big step forward in that department. Owen and Whedon, I think we would both agree Owen's probably a little bit of the higher ceiling guy. If you need a shutout, you're probably going to turn to Owen Haynes to do it. But in terms of the higher floor, I think Whedon Hainline, man, has done a fantastic job for this team, coming out, throwing strikes, giving the team a chance to win. And I think that's why Mac has kind of entrusted him with the Sunday game, because Whedon's not going to lose you the game. But 2 good weekends from these 2 guys, Bernie. What do you think so far about the 11U pitching staff?
Yeah, it's been pretty good this season, and with Whedon, I think that at least me and you knew that Whedon was going to go out there and throw strikes. There's no doubt in my mind that Whedon was ever going to walk a lot of batters. But on Saturday, I got to watch Owen Haynes pitch a little bit, and he pitched against a pretty good Tigers team, and he went out there, had 0 walks and 5 Ks. I think like 4 1/3 innings. Right, he absolutely shoved. Right, he had a very good outing. I did not realize that. I know we call Owen Haynes a high ceiling guy, but he went out there and had no walks, which I've never seen Owen Haynes do. I don't think before in my life.
Yeah, it was really, really impressive, the performance he's put on. And as this team keeps taking steps forward to become that top team that they're on trend to be, I think it's going to be big moments from guys like Owen Haynes who really helped this team get that step forward, the pitching staff. But I'm going to go ahead and take a step back and kind of look at the full season picture for this team. Bernie, there's only 3 guys in the Bears right now with 16 or more hits, and 2 of them are on this roster right here. The leader in hits in the Bears right now, Bernie, is Matthew Hume. I know you touched on him a little bit earlier, but, Bernie, this guy arguably, I think, is one of the best hitters in the Bears in terms of consistently putting up hits. I think, at least from my perspective, I would like to see him hit for a little bit more power. I think he's got the power in him. But in terms of collecting hits, this guy, I think, is right now got to be considered one of the best in the Bears. And then the other guy is Owen Haynes, who we talked about his pitching. He's got 16 hits on the season. That's tied for second in the Bears. And this guy really has done well with the power. He's got 6 doubles, which is one of the best marks in the Bears as well. These 2 guys, Bernie, I think have really led this offense. And what do you think about Matthew Hume? Could he be a sleeper in that MVP conversation? And what do you think about the 2-way threat of Owen Haynes so far?
Yeah, with Matthew, and there's one thing about Matthew, he does not get cheated at the plate. He's going up there, and if he's going to see 3 strikes, he's taking 3 hacks, right? He's never going to go down up there. He's never going to go up there taking a strike. And I know you said the power numbers aren't quite there yet. If you watch Matthew hit, he swings hard, and there is a very audible grunt that you hear when he swings. I think if you're an outsider, it kind of looks funny, but the team, 11U Floyd, the team itself respects it. I think he needs to get a little bigger and stronger as he gets older, but the power numbers will come. Obviously, he does try out very often. He's got the ball hard. And Owen Haynes, I think if you're just thinking about Owen Haynes, if an outsider looking at that team, Owen Haynes is kind of known for his hitting. I think everyone knew he was going to bat at least 500 this year and be a leadoff hitter for that squad. So I think the hitting's as expected for Owen Haynes thus far.
Moving right along here, Bernie, 212U Burnsville, a really nice 2-1 weekend for this team. Obviously, you got the Bash Bros in the middle of that lineup with Harrison Bleibom and Rudy Montenegro Langley. But the pitching staff has really been a step forward for this squad. But let's go ahead and start with the offense, Bernie. The top two guys in terms of OPS this weekend, we've got one who everybody expected and one who nobody expected. Harrison Bleibom, of course, was a beast this weekend. Really impressive once again. And then the second OPS for this weekend, Bernie, was Hunter Finley, who, again, we've touted him for his defense. We touted him for his pitching so far this season. But a really nice offensive weekend, Bernie. 4 for 6 at the plate with a double. And, this guy, he was hitting the ball hard. It wasn't one of those weekends where he got some bloop weak hits. Hunter was hitting the ball hard, and I think if we see Hunter Finley consistently making that hard contact, this guy's going to be one of the best rookies in the Bears this season. So, Bernie, obviously Harrison, another great weekend for him, but tell me about Hunter Finley and what you saw from him at the plate this weekend.
Yeah, I was joking with Hunter Finley a couple weeks ago at practice that the first weekend he just kind of looked scared at the plate. He was going up there, kind of half swinging, not really swinging hard. Looks like he was afraid to swing and miss, just tapping the ball and play to the pitcher. That looked like that was his goal the first couple of weeks. But last week, I don't know what got into him, but he was very confident. He was swinging the bat hard. Like you said, I know one of those hits was a double this past weekend that absolutely smoked ground ball that got through past the outfield. I think that he just can keep his confidence up. After the first game, I moved him up from the 9 hole to the 7 hole in my lineup, and he was like, "Bernie, I don't know if I can bat 7th." And it's just one of those things where, okay, Hunter, you can bat 7th, right? You're a good enough hitter, right? Have enough confidence in yourself to do it. I think that if he keeps that mentality, he'll be just fine the rest of the way.
Yeah, and I think, I've always obviously been very high on Hunter Finley so far this season, and I thought he would develop into a really good hitter. But I would be, I'd be lying if I said I didn't expect this from him this early in the year. I didn't expect him to come out and really put up hard contact already. It's only the third weekend. I thought there would be a little bit more growing pains than that. So very, very impressive for me. And then on the mound, Hunter Finley, I think, had the best pitching performance as well for this team. 5 strikeouts, 2 walks, and in 4 innings. That's a really good line, Bernie, and that's probably his worst outing of the year so far. So I think, again, you kind of talk about that Whedon-Hainline-esque type pitcher with the super high floor, but I think Hunter has shown more ceiling than maybe we gave him credit for preseason. What did you think about Hunter Finley's outing this weekend?
Yeah, like you said, this is probably his worst night he's had this far. Kind of early in the game, he wasn't not throwing strikes, but he wasn't throwing strikes like Hunter Finley normally throws strikes, right? Like he had the 2 walks early in the game, but again, he went up there, pounded his own, did his job. Another, I think, underrated thing about Hunter Finley, at the 12U level where, a walk or a single usually turns into a double because most people will still second base pretty quickly on you. He's very good holding the running game. He picked off 2 guys at first base, has a very slick move. I think that's big at a younger age like 12U.
And then taking a step back, Bernie, looking at the full season for this team, the pitching staff, I think, has been the biggest improvement for this squad. You look at, obviously, Hunter Finley doing his thing. Harrison Bleibom, Owen Lewis, and Cale Taylor have all put together really nice starts to the season on the mound. Bernie, from your perspective, what has it been like this season compared to last year in terms of the pitching staff? Obviously, I would say, like, when you look at the stats, it's almost a little bit deceiving because I feel like the majority of the walks that this team's had has come in like 2-3 innings, and then the rest of it, it's been a lot of strikes so far for the staff. But what has it been like for you, Bernie, to see this pitching staff develop from last year?
Yeah, touching on that point, I think we had 9 walks Sunday. We had 12 the rest of the season combined. So in one game we had 9 walks, in the other 8 or whatever we've played, we've had 12 walks or whatever combined. But as far as the whole staff goes, I was telling Robbie this past weekend, this might be the first time ever we had Owen and Harrison available. Not even pitched a single pitch on Saturday, both ready for Sunday. That's a great shout out to Cale and Hunter who went out there through great games on Saturday. But I hate going on Saturday. So if we lose the first game, in past years I would throw Owen or Harrison up there to make sure we get a win Saturday. Have a good outlook on Sunday. But Cale and Hunter give me the confidence not to do that. Cale's been great ever since he won to start the series. Usually pitched against a pretty good squad every week. And then Hunter Finley, whether it be out of the bullpen or starting, has been very good.
Yeah, we kind of talked about in the offseason that what you really needed was more quality innings. And I think that's exactly what we've gotten this season because, like you said, Bernie, not only were you able to not throw Hunter and Owen on Saturday, but you also went 2-0 doing that, And I think that's something that just didn't happen at all last year, much at all. And just to add another stat, Bernie, you've pitched 29 innings as a team. 18 of those have been no walks, which is just really, really impressive. I mean, I would argue that that's going to be way, way better of a ratio than this team last year. And then on the other two sides of the ball, Bernie, offensively and defensively, so far this year, how have you seen the comparison between this team last fall versus this spring? Obviously, I think Rudy has taken a big step forward. He's been a big part of that. But in terms of the defense and offense developing over the winter, what have you seen so far for this Burnsville squad?
Yeah, I think no longer that we're praying that the ball gets hit to one or two spots or, offensively that one or two guys are up. Look, I was telling the guys on Saturday, there was a game, I believe it was our first game Saturday. Our top four in the order went, I think, 2 for 13 combined or something. It was something like that. And we still scored 13 runs, which I think was a great testament to our 5 through 9 and their ability to get on base and hit the ball. And defensively, if you look around the infield right now, Blabaum, I think, has got 1 error at first. Garrett's probably the majority in second base, played very good over there. Maybe he has 2 errors this season. Kale and Owen, I believe, are both airless. They have 0 errors on the season. Maybe Owen has 1. But it's been very little errors from that side of the infield. They've both been Gold Glove candidates. In the outfield, right, Rowan's made massive strides as far defensively. He's yet to even come close to dropping a fly ball. And, of course, you have Finley on center who's been dominant. And then whoever's in right, like this past weekend, it was Dowd. Again, he got brought up for his bat. He hit very well. Not exactly known for his defense, but has been serviceable out there in his own right. And then behind the plate, shout out. Kind of last second on the fly, Rudy and Connor were kind of thrown into the role of, kind of splitting time back there. Both have been very, very good back there.
Let's go ahead and move right along here to 13U Floyd. This team, I think, again, when you look at the top 2 OPS guys from this weekend, you've got one guy who everybody expects to be here, and then one guy maybe, at least to the layman, probably doesn't expect to be here. And that's Diego Buccio, who hit his first home run of the season, and Nick Byrne, who hit .625 this weekend with some power as well. These two guys, Bernie, again, household products. Diego obviously launching his first homer of the season. I think it's going to be several more for him. But Nick Byrne, Bernie, was thrown into the middle of this lineup. He was thrown into, big situations, a lot of pressure, and probably the biggest pressure at bats he's taken in his Bear career. And a really, really impressive weekend for him, Bernie. Between these two guys, I think we both know what we expect from Diego. He's been right on track so far. But Nick Byrne, thrown to the middle of this lineup, Bernie, kind of like the same thing happened with BWL. He performed great. And what do you see for Nick Byrne here going forward, Bernie, after this big weekend?
Yeah, it was one of those things where I looked at the box score for Game Changer, where I looked at the live stream for 13U Flood one game. I believe it was Saturday. I was like, holy, Nick Byrne's batting 4. I was like, maybe Kenny knows something that we don't know. And I'll give Kenny a lot of props here. Nick Byrne went out there and performed, and I think that, if you would have asked for season me, Kennedy, or Robbie about Nick, could he live up to this hype? I think we all would have said yes, right? Nick Byrne's that talented of a player. How far he's came over the past years, no reason why he couldn't take the reins and be a good hitter for this team. And we'll see. I hope, I like Nick Byrne a lot. I think that if he hits like he does this weekend, of course, that he'll be sticking in that 3, 4, 5 hole, and I think he's definitely capable of doing so.
And then on the mound, Bernie, this pitching staff I think has really been anchored by Caden Inman and Josh Collier. They combined for 18 strikeouts to just 4 walks this weekend, Bernie. Josh Collier with a 10 strikeout game on the mound. This pitching staff, I think, obviously dealing with some injuries here early on in the season, and obviously really not skipping a beat. I mean, Caden and Josh doing more than just serviceable. I think we kind of knew what we expected from Caden coming into the year. But Josh Tyler, Bernie, he's a guy who led the Bears in strikeout rate not too long ago, when he was on that Burn squad. And now he's come in, and I don't think overall strikeouts he leads the Bears, but strikeouts per 9, I think he does lead the Bears right now. I mean, he's been absolutely shoving on the mound. What do you think about this Josh Tyler outing, Bernie?
Yeah, again, another guy who's always had great stuff on the mound, throws hard, has good off-speed pitches. But it's just a matter of, are we going to get the 2-walk, 10K like we saw this weekend, or are we going to get the 6-walk, 6K now that we sometimes see out of Josh? I think a lot of people forget that when Josh Tyler was on the second team, right? When he was the ace of the second team a couple years ago, he led the Bears with strikeouts, and I think that he could definitely do that again this year. Definitely is capable of doing so. It's just a matter of can he get the innings to do it because he can't walk that many guys. If he can keep the walks down, he'll get more innings. And I think that, if he's among the top 2 or 3 on this team in innings pitched, I think he will or has a very good shot at leading the Bears in strikeouts again this season.
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at it. Caden Inman has 18 strikeouts, Josh has 19, and Caden's done it in twice the amount of innings. So it just shows you how electric Josh has been in his outings. Just very, very impressive stuff from Josh Collier. I think both of us, Bernie, have been high on Josh, really for a couple of years now. Even when he was on that burn team, we kind of spoke about him highly. And now to see him really doing it at an ace level is just really, really impressive. So, congrats to Josh. Fantastic outing for him. And I think those two, between Caden and Josh, can really be the rock for this pitching staff going forward. Moving on here to 14U Floyd. It was a 3-1 weekend for this team. These guys, I think, obviously a little bit hampered with certain guys at high school right now, but I think this team has done a really good job of getting the best out of some guys. And Bernie, the guy I want to talk about first is a guy who just looks like an absolute MVP type candidate right now, and that's Mason Geddes. Had a monster weekend, Bernie, a 1733 OPS, 4 doubles and 11 at-bats, and hit over 600. On top of that, on the mound, put up a 9K, 1-walk outing. I mean, Mason Geddes, Bernie, is really doing it all right now. And obviously, I knew you were very high on Mason, especially on the pitching side coming into the season. But for you, Bernie, from what you've seen from Mason so far, are you a little bit surprised? Do you think he can keep up these numbers? What do you think about Mason Geddes so far this season?
Yeah, I can't sit here and say that I would think he put up this good of stats. I think that it was always the hope by the end of the summer, maybe going to the fall, right, he would be the true superstar of this team, be the best player on this team, and hit numbers like this. But I think it just came off faster than I would have thought. Again, I'm very high on Mason. I think he's a great player. But I think it came more quicker than I would have thought pre-season here.
And then some other guys, Bernie, who've really done it a lot with the bat. The first guy I want to talk about is Logan Payne. Logan's been a beast this season. I believe he has the best chart the game record in the Bears right now. He's 21-5 in his at-bats. And this weekend, we played 4 games, and he got 10 hits. And granted, I didn't do super extensive of research, but I did go back to last year, and I looked at, the biggest names, ZZ, Blaybaum, Lucas Wilburn. I could not find another player, Bernie, who had a weekend where they played only 4 games and got 10 hits. I found a couple weekends. I know Lucas Wilburn had a weekend where he had 5 games and 10 hits. I could not find another weekend with 4 games and 10 hits. I think Logan Payne has had this reputation of a boomer bust type hitter, Bernie. But this season, strikeout rate is way down. The contact rate obviously is way up, and it's hard contact he's making right now. The power maybe is a little bit down, but that's more so because he's not getting the ball in the air. It's not because he's not hitting the ball hard. He's hit a lot of hard line drives, hard ground balls that have resulted in a lot of singles. But I know he had at least 1 ball and maybe 2 that could have been doubles if he didn't have a runner in front of him this weekend. But Bernie, I know you've always been a big Logan Payne fan. 10 hits in 4 games, really incredible. What have you thought about this Logan Payne early season breakout?
Yeah, it's been great. Like you said, I've been on Logan Payne. I've picked him for a senior breakout basically, since BBN came back. Maybe even the old BBN, honestly. I pick this guy every single year. I think he's made me right every single year. And again, I think that I said before the season that he could be, even when all the guys come back, the Wilburns, the Velcheks, the Kesters, that he could still be the 4th hitter on the squad. I still am a firm believer of that. I think that he's been here for a long time, man. He's been working really hard, and this kid's just gotten better and better. I think this season we're finally it all comes together for Logan Payne.
Then another guy, Bernie, who got the call up this weekend was Maxim Borodko. He got called up from Bell and had a 4 for 6 weekend at the plate with a double. I think he made an error in the first inning of the weekend. After that, he played absolutely flawless in the infield at third and second and was really, really impressive. Bernie, this is a guy who I think we knew was going to be on that Floyd roster sooner or later, but coming in and instantly being an impactful player, instantly being a difference maker, was really impressive. Bernie, what did you see from this Maxim Borodko weekend? Do you see him sticking around not only with the roster but also in the starting lineup? Or do you think this is a flash in the pan here for Maxim Borodko?
Yeah, I think we'll see here. I didn't get to go out and watch any of Maxim's games this weekend, but I think that he's mostly viewed as this offensive first shortstop or infielder wherever he's playing. But he played a very good defense this weekend. I heard from I heard from a couple of different 4-2 players even that Maxim played a very good defense. And I think that he has a shot. I think he's going to stick around this roster for a little bit. Now is he going to start in lineup? I'm not sure. but I think he'll have his shots to do so. As I said, I think he'll stick around on this roster.
Yeah, it's been really impressive. And then one more performance I wanted to highlight from this weekend before we kind of look at this 14U Floyd team season, and that's Evan Lancaster on the mound. 8 strikeouts, 2 walks in a shutout. Absolutely dominant. Bernie, I mean, this guy basically single-handedly won the Sunday game for this 14U Floyd team. Obviously, the other team had their Sunday guy on the mound. We scraped together some runs, and Evan Lancaster absolutely shut the door. This was a dominant outing, Bernie. This felt like an ace outing from this guy. He's a previous Cy Young Award winner, Bernie. I think KJ picked him to win the Cy Young Award this season, and certainly looked like a Cy Young this weekend, Bernie. What do you think about Evan Lancaster's outing?
Yeah, I think that it's nice to have a guy on the squad that you can just hand the ball to on Sunday and just say, go win us the game, basically. Evan's that good. I know he had a couple outings, like one outing early in the year where he kind of struggled with his walks a little bit, but this kid's absolutely dominant. He's electric. We talk about how electric Josh Tyler is. Well, that's Evan Lancaster at 14U, but Evan also rarely walks anybody. I know he had that one eye, but rarely walks anybody. But yeah, he's absolutely dominant, throws hard, has great off-speed pitches. I think he can throw, 4 pitches for strikes right now, so good luck hitting Evan.
Yeah, and look at this pitching staff as a whole for the season. Obviously missing some big guns. Lucas Wilburn, Lucas Velchek were big parts of the pitching staff last year. But this pitching staff so far, absolutely electric. 59 strikeouts in 39 innings. That is nearly 2 per inning. Like a 13.5 K per 9. This pitching staff has been absolutely electric. Obviously, 2 at the top, Mason Case, Evan Lancaster. They've been doing it all, Bernie. But what are your thoughts for this pitching staff? Obviously, trying to survive without the 2 Lucases. How do you rate the performance of this team's pitching staff so far? Specifically, the guys who aren't Mason and Evan. So, I think Trevor's had 2 outings now. Jake Gillette's had 2 or 3 outings. Aaron Hill had a chance to pitch this weekend. How do you rate the rest of the pitching staff, Bernie, so far?
By guy, yes. I think Trevor's very good. I think we're kind of uncertain, whether Trevor can throw the same Sunday, how much faith you could have, and how much confidence you can have. But he's looked good in outings, I believe. Valetta's done a great job out of the bullpen, just eating innings, and their quality is at that. Right? He's not a striker there. He's very good. And we'll be with Aaron. I know kind of mantra with Aaron is that he can't throw strikes, but he throws hard. I know that I think this upcoming week he's probably have another chance to pitch. Look, he could be a mainstay, but not a mainstay, but he could eat things for this team in the course of the year. Just to get those strikes. Yeah,
I was talking this weekend. I think we need one more arm for the spring. Before everybody comes back, we need one more arm. I think Jacob Vallette's done a very serviceable job. I think Trevor Anderson's done a very serviceable job. Aaron Nola can step up and be that 5th guy. I think this team is going to be more than fine before everybody comes back. But this weekend he was kind of bugging me to pitch, and I told him, I go, hey, I don't know if you are the guy I want to put, because the first game on Saturday we were up by a lot, and he said, we're up by so much, let me pitch. And I go, I don't know if you're the up by a lot pitcher, Aaron. I don't really trust you to go out there and throw strikes down the middle, because that's what you want when you're up by a lot. I said, hey, close championship game, that's when it's your time. And sure enough, championship game, the game's close. I put Aaron in with bases loaded and nobody out. I think he got out of it with just one run scoring. So I think earned some more innings for sure. This lineup I think has done a lot with a lot of different guys stepping up, Bernie. I'm going to give you a list of names, Bernie, who are all doing pretty well. So all of these guys, Bernie, have an OPS of 1,000 or higher. And I want you to tell me who's been the most impressive for you so far for this 14U Floyd team. All these guys have an OPS of 1,000 or higher. Tell me who's been the most impressive for you. Josiah Leaker, Dom Palucci, John Armbruster, Mason Gebhart, and then Maxim Brodko. Maybe don't pick Maxim Bernie because we already talked about him, but Gebhart, Armbruster, Palucci, and Leaker. Which of those 4, all with an OPS over 1,000, has been the most impressive for you so far?
Yeah, of all those guys, I know we talked about this guy the past couple weeks on BBNs, or at least one of them. I'll go with Johnny A. I think another guy who's been here for a long time, has been grinding. And I think that, when those guys come back from high school, right, the only way Johnny stays on his roster is if he hits. He's not there to play defensive first base. He's not really there to pitch, even though he can, right? He's there to hit. And I think that he's proven that he can hit with the best of me. He can hit the top level. I think how far he's come in years, and great to watch.
Moving on to our 13 New Bernstein team, Bernie. These guys got themselves a championship second place this weekend. I thought these two got, this team played well overall as a team. You know, two guys I wanted to go and highlight who are both prospect eligible, both I think had really solid weekends. That's John McKenzie and Gio Palucci. You know, these two guys I think both kind of on different sides of the prospect spectrum. I think Gio is kind of on the verge of being a top team player consistently, whereas Josh Kinsey just starting, bare journey. But I think both these guys have shown some flashes so far this season. What have you thought of Josh Kinsey and Gio Palucci so far this year, Bernie?
I think G's kind of been on that now. On a couple weekends here, going with 13 new foot, and I actually got to watch him out of this Burn team the past couple weeks, and I think Gio stays every time he back up there. He hits the ball basically hard on the team. He's probably the best pitcher. He can catch. He's a good midfielder. I think he's really, I think he's maybe upset that he wasn't on the top team, but I think he's done a very good job of being why he should be on the team by staying out on the bottom team. He's done a very good job of that thus far. And with Casey again, a guy that I think people would have used a long-term prospect, right? You know he's going to hit immediately off the bat. You know he's going to play immediately off the bat. But I think he's done a very good job at being ahead of expectations of what we thought he would be at this point in the year.
And then finally, Bernie, I did want to touch on this Bell squad. A couple guys who I think have gone on to really good starts. Three guys I wanted to bring up, Bernie: Jack Winehouse, Parker Wilson, and Connor Murphy. I think three of these guys have gotten to really good starts. Parker Wilson got his chance with the top team this weekend and stroked the ball on Sunday. But between these three, Bernie, I want to get your perspective. What do you think is the highest ceiling long term? Because I think all three of these guys maybe aren't quite yet ready to be starters on 14U Floyd, but I think all three of them in a year's time, if they develop, could be contenders for that job. So between Jack Winehouse, Parker Wilson, and Connor Murphy, three guys who are off to really good starts, who do you think is the highest ceiling, Bernie, to potentially be a 14U Floyd player in the future?
For this, I'll probably go with Jack Winehouse, even though I will say I went to the game Sunday and I accidentally called. I think I called Evan Jack on accident. I know the difference now. I promise. Jack's my third baseman. But I think that clearly JB probably trusted him 2, 3, or 4 hole. I've wanted this guy maybe 1 or 2 bats, but every bat he's either hit the ball hard or taking a good quality bat where he's swinging strikes, taking balls, hitting hard. Right, the quality of the bats in high for him. So I think just that. If I'm picking the best starting, it's probably Winehouse, and I think that's what we're looking for here. What I was going to look for the top team.
Yeah, I would say all three of these guys have some level of their game that's already top team ready. I think Jack Winehouse is already a top team caliber bat. For me, it's the rest of his game that you need to see develop. I think he is one of those infielders that's going to make a really great play, then he'll miss a routine ball, right? And Parker Wilson, his defense, I think, is already top team ready. We flashed from his bat, but I think he just needs to overall get consistency, build his metrics. And then Connor Murphy, I think, has kind of got a little bit of both, where he probably is ready to be a role player on the top team, but his bat and his glove aren't quite ready enough to be a starter. They're both serviceable. I think Connor's the second best defender and second best hitter of these three names, but he's not quite, neither side of his game is quite ready to jump into that starting lineup. So I think all three of these guys off to really encouraging starts, and it's good to see. But yeah, I think Jack Winehouse right now, I would agree, I think probably has the biggest ceiling of these three guys. To end out the show here, Bernie, I wanted to go ahead and real quickly look at the award races for the month of April. Obviously, I know we have this weekend for sure, Bernie. We got 2 more weekends in April, right? So we got 2 more weekends in April to kind of decide these awards. Obviously, we're going to have an April MVP, we're going to have an April Cy Young, an April Rookie of the Year, and an April Platinum Glove. And I want to go through each of these awards just very quickly, Bernie, kind of give you, who I think are the lead candidates. You can tell me maybe your choice. Maybe you can tell me who else am I forgetting. But when it comes to the Rookie of the Year, I think we're looking at basically a battle between Rudy Montenegro Langley, obviously, and then, correct me, Bernie, is Owen Haynes a rookie? He is a rookie, right? He joined last fall?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Owen Haynes is a rookie. Obviously, we'll have that ironed out before the award show, but I'm pretty sure Owen Haynes is a rookie. I know Carson Griffith's a rookie. I think both those guys could compete for that. But I think right now, Bernie, Rudy is probably leading the charge. What are your thoughts on the Rookie of the Year race in April?
Yeah, I think Rudy's came out the gates absolutely firing. Even though he didn't have the best of last weekend, I think that the first 2 weekends, kind of proved that this third weekend was kind of just an off weekend for Rudy. I think he's, one of the best hitters on the squad. And, I'll shout out Hunter Finley just because that, he pitches well. He plays great defense, and the one question we had about him was his offense, and I believe he only got out maybe once last weekend. He's up to like a 460 average, like a 600 on base, something like that. So I think he could be right in the mix, even with his bat.
Owen Haynes is confirmed rookie, by the way, Bernie. So I think that makes it a really interesting race. Obviously Rudy is the leader, but the way Owen Haynes is playing right now, Bernie, I think he's going to be right in there with that race. And then Carson Griffith as well has a good chance. Hunter Finley, another name that I think is playing really well right now. I think that's kind of the Rookie of the Year race here in the month of April. In terms of the Platinum Glove, this is one of those awards, Bernie, that I think I have to talk to more people than any other award. Obviously, the stats tell you one story, but I think when you're really looking at Platinum Glove, you got to talk to the coaches because obviously they're seeing the day in, day out defense. The candidates for me right now, I think Mason Geddes has played a very electric shortstop. He's made a couple routine mistakes, but in terms of the plays he's making, it's been very impressive. I think Aaron Knoll is definitely in that conversation as well. For 14U Floyd, he's been flawless in center field. In terms of 13U, I think you've had several different guys play really well. Obviously, Owen Weibrecht is one of the best outfielders in the Bears right now. I think he's in contention for that. Caden Inman has been really good defensively. At 12U Burnstill, KL Taylor has been a previous Platinum Glove winner. I think he's been basically flawless, as you said earlier, Bernie. Hunter Finley as well, I think, has been basically flawless in the outfield. And from 11U, I would have said this, 2 weeks ago, but Owen Dobrinsky has been very, very good. I never really thought of him as a great defensive shortstop. He's been lights out this season. You got to give him credit for that. I think those names I mentioned, Bernie, is probably the race right now. In your opinion, Bernie, obviously 2 weeks ago, so a lot can change. Who do you think is leading the way for the Platinum Glove in April?
Yeah, just being unbiased my team, of course. I pick Aaron Knoll, so I think he's just the best outfielder of the Bears in general. But since I've been a lot of my games, like you said, Kale's made 2 errors this season, and he's not a shortstop that doesn't get a lot of balls. He gets more balls than everyone else does. He's now making a routine play. He makes players. He's made 6 dime plays this year. He's absolutely blocked that way.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, I think the first place you look for Platinum Glove is shortstop. I think if Kale continues this trend for the next 2 weeks, I think he's probably the front runner. But if he falls off, I agree, Bernie. I think Aaron Nola has been the best outfielder of the Bears so far. I think this guy's defense has just come so far since he joined the Bears, and he is a real impact defender in the outfield. So, I think those two had the race, but I got to say, Bernie, Dobrinsky may be the sleeper for right now. I know you were really impressed with his defense. I've been really impressed with his defense so far this season, and he's one I didn't necessarily expect at the end of this year. Moving on to the Cy Young Award, there's been a lot of really, really good pitching performances. Obviously, with 11U, Owen Haynes and Weed Mainline. The thing about 11U, just because there's so many runs scored, I think it's going to be hard for these two guys to win it, just because the stats look quite clean. Obviously, you look at 11U ERA and 14U ERA differently, but I just think the nature of the game, it's really tough for 11U pitcher to win it. If it is an 11U Floyd player, it's probably going to be Owen Haynes. Moving up to 12U, Hunter Finley, I think, has been really, really solid. Obviously, Owen Lewis and Kelly are both good as well. 13U Floyd, again, I think Inman is kind of leading that charge, but Josh Tyler, he has 2 more outings like this week. I think he can jump in the head. But honestly, Bernie, and again, maybe this is biased, I think the Cy Young Award winner is going to come from 14U Floyd, whether it be Mason Geddes, if he continues his current form, or if Evan Lancaster dominates like he did this weekend, I could see him taking it as well. So, Bernie, when you look at these names, again, I would say I think it's going to be who outduels between Mason Geddes and Evan Lancaster. But what's your perspective here, Bernie? Obviously, Caden Inman has looked really good as well. Who do you think is going to be our April Cy Young?
Yeah, if you're asking me to pick, one guy, I'd probably pick Mason Geddes again. Biased, that was my preseason, Cy Young pick for the whole summer. But I think he's been the best pitcher in the Bears thus far. There's a lot of good guys that have good performances. I know, just because I know my team stats better than every other team in the Bears. I mean, Kale and Hunter's ERA's got to be way down there. They both got to be under 2 probably. They've both been great. Harrison outside of 1 outing. I think Harrison's like a 4-something ERA now, but before that one start, he was a mid-1 guy. He's been great. And then, like you said, 13 guys, Caden Inman and Josh Tyler have been electric for them as well. Both those guys, again, 2 outings in a row, and they're right back in the race as well.
Yeah, I think the monthly Cy Young Award, Bernie, is a lot more indicative of consistency than it is of necessarily being the best pitcher. Obviously, the full season Cy Young Award, the best pitcher is going to be the best pitcher over the full season. But when it comes to the monthly award, one bad outing can kind of kill you. Hunter Finley, his ERA is under 1.2 right now. He's got 1.16 ERA. That's the best on that Torrey Burnstill team. He's right up there in that race. But yeah, I think Mason Getty just strikes me as such a consistent but also electric pitcher. I think Evans' one bad outing might come back to bite him. I think Harrison's one bad outing might come back to bite him. But we'll see. I mean, Mason Getty may have one bad outing, and then who knows? But I think right now it's between Mason Getty and Evan Lancaster for me. Moving on to our MVP award. This one, I think you go a lot of different ways still. This one is probably for me the least decided through our first 2 weeks of the season. With 2 weeks left, a lot can change. Obviously, Harrison Blaibom, I think, has got to be up there as the favorite. I think Rudy could maybe be a dark horse in there if he can, if he hits 3 home runs this weekend. I think all of a sudden Rudy is jumping into that as well. Mason Geddes, again, I think has been a superstar. Logan Payne, I think, is in there as more of that dark horse. And then from the other teams, Diego, he looks really good right now. Owen Haynes, he looks really good right now. Matthew Hume, the thing about Matthew, I think, because his value is basically exclusively offensively, I think it's going to be tough for him. He's going to really have to out-hit everybody because Harrison, Mason, and even to maybe a smaller extent, Diego, they all offer some value on the defensive side of the ball as well. But what do you think, Bernie? I think this race, I think, is by far the most wide open. To be MVP, I do think you probably got to be the best player on your own team. And for me, right now, I would say that's Mason Geddes, Harrison Blaibom, Diego Buccio, and Owen Haynes. So for me, that's kind of the race. What do you think, Bernie? I mean, a lot can be decided here in the next 2 weeks. Who do you got being our April MVP?
Yeah, I think that out of all the races, I think this is the one right now where you're kind of least sure in your pick. Just because, Harrison could go 0 for 5 this weekend, and Owen Haynes could go 6 for 7, and all of a sudden, they're not even close to stats, right?
Yeah.
But I would still pick Harrison Blaibom, right? Again, the guy I watch every week. I said for a long time, I think he's at bare minimum the best youth hitter in the Bears. But Diego can get hot at times, man. And if Diego gets hot, he's not just hitting those singles. He's crushing every single baseball, doubles, home runs. So if Diego gets hot for a week or two, I can easily see it going to him as well.
Yeah, I think, there's a little bit more pressure on the full season MVP award to go to the best player on the best team. But with the monthly awards, I think that pressure's a little bit lessened, and I think that really gives Harrison an edge. The other thing that gives Harrison an edge maybe from previous years is I think he's a much better first baseman than he was a year ago. And I think obviously a much better pitcher than he was a year ago. So I think those things have really upped his MVP case, and obviously the team has gotten a lot better. So, yeah, I think for me, Harrison's got to be the runner. I think if Mason Getty continues his form, he could jump in there and steal it. But I think besides that, you'll probably need a breakout weekend. I think Logan Payne needs for a little bit more power to win it. I think Diego's got to be a little bit more consistent. He has a 3-homer game. He can win it. But yeah, I think right now, that board is wide open. So yeah, excited to see. That's going to do for this episode of BBN After Dark. A lot of Bears baseball has already been played. Just crazy to think 3 weekends in because it feels like so much has already happened. Excited for the rest of this month, and we'll be very excited to check out the April awards at the end of it. But that's going to do it for this episode of BBN After Dark. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you all next time.